Okay, so welcome to this session of probiotics brought to you by Arogyam Natural. So today's agenda is more to cover on the various probiotics and how it is basically composition of probiotics and some of the popular probiotics you can do at home and also the ones which are available in the market. And also we will look at antibiotics and prebiotics because you need to understand why these are important and how these get affected by antibiotics. So pre, pro, and anti, all the three are quite interesting in this journey on probiotics. Okay. So let me start with the age-old quote that all disease begins in the gut. So basically, your large intestine and small intestine is the gut, and if any disease has to start, basically it has to start with your diseases in your large intestine or small intestine, and we'll just go into how this will all add up. Now, before we get into probiotics, prebiotics, and antibiotics, what is important to understand is the fermentation technology. Because basically, when you take probiotics, it's nothing but fermented food, and in the fermentation is where you get your probiotics into the system. So basically, when I talk about probiotics, you need to understand fermentation. So if you have any questions, you can speak right away because this might get a longer session, and if you don't catch up some of these concepts, you might not be able to ask questions in the later end. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions and stop me anywhere you would like to. So fermentation basically, when you have to prepare any probiotics at home, basically you go through fermentation. So basically what happens in fermentation is we will be doing anaerobic fermentations for most of the, probiotics, what you'll be preparing. So basically you will prepare this without the presence of oxygen. So basically everything will be inside a liquid where there won't be any exposure to oxygen. So basically what fermentation can do is basically it can generate lactic acid in sauerkraut or yogurt. That is the pretty much popular probiotics, and in other formations like basically if you are doing bread, it helps it to leavening the bread. In terms of alcoholic drinks, it converts sugars into ethanol. In terms of fermenting any carbohydrate like grains, it can convert into alcohol, or it can even help in breaking down the sugars in the glucose. So basically carbohydrates are nothing but grains like rice and these things. If you ferment that, basically it will break down the glucose in it. So basically that's why sometimes we say that diabetes patients better have fermentation because it can break down the glucose. That way you are not going to have glucose. So okay, so basically that's the so basically the fermentation is where it gets converted. So basically when you are having any carbohydrate after fermentation, basically you'll not have much impact on glucose because those glucose are eaten by those bacteria and converted. So we'll go into that a little later, but if you are doing any other yogurt or sauerkraut and things like that, you will have the lactic acid generated, which are quite essential for your digestive system. So basically fermentation is a metabolism process which can change the chemical changes of those foods. So we'll not get into these details now, but probiotic are basically live bacteria. So when you start inducing probiotics, you're basically consuming live bacteria and yeast. So, and it is very good for your system. That's why, we sometimes say that don't do too much of sanitization to your hand, because your hand is also one of the, system, one of the method we put in bacteria into the probiotics. So basically when you're preparing sauerkraut, we tell you to just use your hand to squash that, so that the bacteria in your hand goes into that in the preparation of the probiotic. So that's why unnecessary using of too much of sanitizers are not good, because you have good and bad bacteria, by using sanitizers, you might be killing more of good bacteria rather than the bad bacteria. In the name of bad bacteria, they are killing the good bacteria in your gut, in your hand, and in lot more things we will just talk about. Any questions here? I hope I'm audible. Anyone can confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Santosh, you are audible and going fine.
Quite clear. Quite clear, yeah.
Great. So in terms of probiotics now, what you need to understand is it is nothing but a good bacteria. That's it. There are bad bacteria we don't call as probiotic. So good bacteria is just keyed as probiotic. And anywhere in your system, you have good and bad bacteria. And what you are trying to do is when you have any problem with your digestion or anything, probably there are more bacteria, bad bacteria in your system. So when you take good bacteria, we are telling that you are taking probiotics. That's it. So nothing but in a layman term, it's a good bacteria. It's just that our medical terminologies are so complex nowadays that we are forgetting the basic essence of what is a good bacteria. So before I get into a lot of details on bacteria, you need to understand for your gut what today's science has identified only 3 broad categories of bacteria and yeast. So lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, these 2 are the bacteria. And the top one, Saccharomyces, is nothing but yeast. So these are the only 3 broad categories what humans have or human science have identified. But every person has a lot more bacteria than that which science has not discovered. That's why it's an probiotic is the area where much doctors don't talk, because they have limited kind of known bacteria and yeast. And every sometimes for people who have major problem in their gut, cancers and thing, they just take a uninhabited or uncivilized person's feces and give it as a probiotic shot. Means someone who is staying in a forest, his system is quite he has a complex number of bacteria in his gut. So basically those keeps coming feces. So they use that as one of the in a very advanced stage of cancers or any kind of major intestine problems. They take a very healthy man, especially someone in a forest areas who stays and live. His feces will have those traces, and they inject in a capsule to a human, to the unhealthy guy. So that is the kind of probiotic shot they can give. It's very similar to your cow dung. Cow too have probiotics. When they put cow dung to your gardening, basically those bacteria work on the soil. So everything is bacteria based, whether you take gardening or human system. That's why sometimes you might even know in Ayurveda, they give you cow dung and cow urine to drink. So it's nothing about religion. It is just that we use that even for gardening and humans, because cow stomach also has a lot of bacteria which helps for humans as well as plants. And these in human systems are called lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, and Saccharomyces, which is a yeast. So we'll be broadly now touching base on these human known probiotics, but science has a limitation. So don't try to think that, okay, you have antibiotic, you take these human known 3 broad categories that you will restore your gut. Basically, your gut cannot be restored. So sometimes even we say that either take some cow dung or cow urine or a human healthy person's human feces, or you can even go for other aspects. Just human intervened known limited bacteria is not enough to restore your gut once you had a heavy pesticide or heavy usage of antibiotics. So the reason why today people are saying don't use antibiotic is basically in the name of antibiotic, they're killing your, digestive system. So your digestive systems are nothing but bacteria. The small intestine and large intestines are just tubes. That's it. The one which works in your intestine are these bacteria. So if your bacteria are not there, your tubes are not going to be of any use, large intestine or small intestine. Any question here?
Santosh, I do have one question. Is it
Yes.
like, do we have a time frame, as you told, I would like to take one example here. We call pancha, panchagavya. But if you take for certain period, definitely there are chances you'll be get cured. I mean, is there anything like a time frame? Because you told we can't do, or like we can't get healed from that. So if you can put
No,
light on
what I
that.
mean is human system is quite complex. Just give me a minute. Yeah, see, what I'm saying is there are various interventions of cow urine or panchagavyas or human faces, healthy person human faces, or some of these lab mind things. But every human has different microbiome. Some have very good, that's why they can digest anything. Some people are born with little bacteria. So what I'm saying is we don't know where to find that kind of multiple complex strains, who is really healthy, who might have more, and what we might have lost in the process of pesticide exposure and antibiotic exposures. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks, Santosh.
Okay, so that's why otherwise I'll give you one good example. The reason today's kids also even at the birth are losing these uh, probiotics is because when they have normal delivery, the vagina also has a lot of these good bacteria. So when they have a normal delivery, when the baby comes out at the delivery, normal delivery, it gets spread across their nose, their tongue, and their mouth. So that itself is a very good shot of healthy microbiome. So that's why today's most of it is cesarean, and they don't even get at the time of the required kind of good bacteria even at the time of birth. That's why we always advocate, or today's holistic science or holistic health says normal deliveries are better, because this is another reason.
Agree, Santosh.
Okay, so basically, if you see, humans have just or human science have just found out in lactobacillus there are few strains like lactobacillus casei, lactobacillus plantarum, lactobacillus salivarius. In bifidobacterium they have bifidobacterium longum, bifidobacterium lactis, bifidobacterium brevi. So there are only few things they have known. So what they're telling is that some science that humans have just only discovered 30 to 40% of probiotics, what is there in our gut. Still 60% is a mystery they are not able to discover. So that's why sometimes as a final shot you might have to go even for an cow based panchakavyas, or you might have to go for an healthy person feces. So before I get into a lot of details on probiotics, the simple way to remember any probiotic is, if I say kombucha, for kombucha is a bacteria, is a bacteria which feeds on black tea or green tea. Saukata is nothing but which bacteria feeds on your cabbage. Kimchi is also feeds on cabbage. Tempeh and miso feeds into soya beans. Yogurt and kefir also feeds on to something like milk. So basically, any bacteria needs some kind of food. So you need to understand here that when I say certain probiotics, it feeds on what? Saukata on cabbage, kombucha on black tea, kefir and yogurt on milk, kimchi on cabbage, tempeh and miso is on soybean. So each culture have different. In India, the most popular probiotic is yogurt or the curds. In Europe, it is kombucha. In Japanese, Korean, they use soya beans because that is what their native, probiotics were. Because they had more of soya milk, or we had a lot of milk. In some of the Korean countries use cabbage because that was their one of their staple foods, and they found how to ferment it and use it. So basically, when I talk about these microbes, this is where I'm talking about a bigger picture. What I was giving an example, probiotics are a bigger than bacteria. It basically stays around your body, not only inside your gut.
Santosh, I think you went on mute.
Yeah, yeah.
You are not
Just,
audible.
trying to control my background noise here. Okay, so basically I'm back here, and basically when we talk about not only bacteria and yeast, there are other viruses and protozoa, which is even common in plants. So basically your systems are not just run by bacteria and yeast, it also needs viruses and protozoa. And so these are the very complex, what I told you, it's another 60% is not discovered, how the whole gut system works. So this is where I'm talking about that probiotics typically are in your gut, but it is also there in your mouth, vagina, urinary tract, skin, and lungs. So basically that's why when we say don't use tooth powders, toothpaste, chemical based, because you are going to kill a lot of probiotics or microbes in your mouth. And when we say go for normal delivery, the baby gets ingested with those probiotics or microbes from the vagina. Urinary tract also has these microbes. That's why you would have here UTI, urinary tract infection, that happens only because there are good and bad bacteria in urinary tract, but due to whatever way there was some exposure to bad bacteria, that it has overcome uh, the good bacteria. Your skin also, that's why we tell don't use chemicals, because your skin is supposed to breed, feed the microbes. That's why we tell a lot of people to go play in the mud, because mud has healthy bacteria. So when kids play with the mud, they can be healthy, because from skin it gets into the body. And even lungs, when you go to good forest, get away from these chemical smokes, your lungs also improves. So that's why today, if you want to be really healthy, you better have to get out of cities, go back to your old way of living in a health, in a farm with self-sustainable food. You will nourish your lungs, you will nourish your skin, you will nourish your mouth by not using any of the man-made toothpaste and tooth things. You just use the age-old herbal like neem leaves or any neem sticks. It is healthy. Your gut will be healthy because you're going to eat out of organic soils where you will not be using chemicals. Any questions here? No questions?
No question, Santosh.
Okay. So probiotics, why it is helpful now is it can prevent all your bowel diseases, IBD, diarrheas. So even if you have diarrhea, that means some bad bacteria have come into your intestine. So instead of trying to know how to stop it, you just feed some good bacteria, it will come into control. And basically antibiotics also causes diarrhea because it's killing good and bad. It's like in war, there are enemies in that village, but you bomb it and your good people also going to join, or the people, common civilians also going to die. So similarly is antibiotic, because antibiotic cannot differentiate which is good bacteria, which is bad bacteria. So in Europe, it is used only in extreme conditions. In India, that's the first thing doctors give. So try to learn that we are in a very bad societies. We are only developed in terms of all science are available, but all our practices are really bad because of the industry and lobbies. Okay, so basically now we are saying that if you want to make sure you don't need probiotics, means that means you shouldn't eat pesticide food, you shouldn't be taking antibiotics. That is itself is enough that you don't have to do any probiotics at home. So
Excuse me.
you
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
Probiotic means only bacteria or viruses and other one yeast also.
Yes, yeast, everything. So here you can see probiotics are,
Viruses, protozoa.
yeah, all these. Microbes are a combination of bacteria, fungi, virus, and protozoa. So they have differentiated a good and bad bacteria and fungi and few things, but they really don't have a complete spectrum of microbes in human bodies. Similarly, if you go to gardening or human nutrition, they also say calcium cannot be taken in combination with something, and post that there should be another nutrient. So the whole system is so complex that these guys are just touching very high level. They really don't know the interdependencies. That's a problem within animal and human nutrition. So moving in for bacteria, these bacteria feed on fiber. So that's why when you want to, even if you're not eating antibiotics or pesticide, and you think you have a good bacteria in your tummy or the gut, you still have to feed fiber. So that's why the reason why you shouldn't be taking refined food, which are polished foods, because they lack fiber. So if bacteria has to stick into your intestine, it has to need fiber. So that's why if without fiber food, like if you don't eat unpolished ones which has fiber, the bacteria are not going to sustain in your gut, because the bacteria live on fiber. Even though they convert any of your food, at the end of the day they still have to hang on there, so they need fiber. That's why when we say probiotic, we say take probiotics with mother. Mother is nothing but the fiber uh, on which all the probiotics hang on. Similarly in your intestine. So I talked about probiotics. Now what is prebiotic is nothing but that fiber. So any food which can feed your probiotic, your food is also a prebiotic, but you need to take a food which has fiber, so that it becomes your probiotic not only converts the food, it also gets some food to hang on. So basically probiotics on the left side basically eats all the prebiotics. So all your food is prebiotic, provided it also has a fiber in it, so that you can see whole wheat, legumes, vegetables. Eat whole wheat. If you eat maida, it is not a prebiotic for your probiotic. Pro is in your favor. Pre means for pro to be in your favor, you need a prebiotic, which is the food for it. But make sure you eat fiber rich foods. Like some of the roots has a lot of fiber in it. That's why they say eat these kind of fiber rich food, so that probiotics not only converts your food but also has a way to hang on into your gut. Any questions here?
So beer and wine is also probiotic.
No, because basically probiotics are there, but today's world of all your alcohol are basically added with spirits. So kill the authentic.
After after fermentation, I think alcohol can also generate.
Absolutely, that has probiotics. But what I understand, all the commercial grades are adding some kind of spirits. It is not pure alcohol. So try to ferment natural alcohols. That is better than commercial grade ones, because we don't know the reason. See, because alcohol when you take, it really doesn't damage your livers. Today, all the commercial wines are all damaging the thing. So with the limited research, what I have got an input is that they are adding some kind of artificial spirits, is what I understand.
What about pickles?
Sorry?
Pickles.
Pickles are good, but pickles also, the problem is they're using refined oil, they're using refined salt. So they both are not good for your probiotics. So basically it is not a fermented, it is just a preserved, chemical loaded pickles today. If you see the ingredient, they are adding preservatives also, or some kind of
Correct.
artificial acids also.
Yes,
What we are
yes.
trying to say is, do your alcohol, like go back to your farmhouse, prepare your alcohols, prepare your pesticide free food. That's the only way you're going to be living healthy till your last day. If you're in cities and eating all the kind of commercial grade food, commercial grade alcohol, commercial grade pickles, in the name of good food, they are killing us. Even if you see your curds, I don't know what, if you know what is getting added to your milk, you'll never be able to make a good probiotics out of a milk here.
Mm.
Okay, so basically,
Santosh,
uh,
if you can, regarding fiber, if you can give some examples, I think it may be helpful for all of us, if you don't mind.
yeah, as you can see, prebiotics here.
Can I come in here? Can I come
Yeah,
in here,
sure.
Santosh?
Yeah,
So, what I have understood about prebiotics is the most commonmost food that is helpful for probiotics are fibers from apples, psyllium husk, and ginger. These are great prebiotics to have along with your probiotics
correct. So
because of its fiber content.
yes, because there are more husk in it. Husk is a complete
Yeah,
fiber. So that's why I'm telling you, the husk was already there with unpolished rice. They removed it from your rice
correct.
so that your probiotics are not sustainable. You get a heavy load of sugar. So what we are doing in the modern name of, the most advanced, we are just killing ourselves. So husk was there with the rice. Why did they even remove it? You understand now? It's all conspiracy. So
Mm.
if you have read of a lot of conspiracy theories, does this make sense now? Even science knows this. I'm bringing you all from science. So even if science knows all this, why are they not stopping it? Why are they feeding maida? Why are they still allowing it to polish? Is it people preference, or is it even the business, or even is it the government agenda? Anyway, we'll not get into those details now. So just understand here, probiotics, it eats the prebiotics which are in circle, and also it eats bad bacteria, because probiotic is nothing but good bacteria. Good bacteria is eating bad bacteria as well as it is eating the food, which is your prebiotics. Does that simplify?
Thanks, Santosh.
Yeah. So as we talked about probiotic, prebiotic, it all is in your human gut. The human gut is your large intestine and small intestine. So basically, whoever talked about what are the good prebiotics, uh, like those are the Indian things. These are some of the other foreign ways they talk. So anything which is on the outer layer, tomato skin or apple skin, or some of these rice husks, or unpolished ragis, or unpolished millets, all have fiber around it. That is good. And probiotics is
It's go.
enriched. Okay, now
Yeah,
where
it's
does
Gauravi. Hi, Santosh.
yeah, Gauravi, hi, go ahead. You want to add? Okay, she's our other
Oh,
expert. Probably she can add more on it. Go ahead.
no. I think you're covering pretty much. I think I'll come in when I have a doubt. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So basically, you need to now understand where does probiotic really work in your system. So as I told you, it is in your large intestine and small intestine. You need to understand using this probiotics. Some of the lactobacillus works on your small intestine layer, which basically helps you to absorb nutrients. And so basically, is not the one where everything happens. It's post your conversion in your stomach that the food is in the way of small intestine and large intestine. All these are getting absorbed back. So that's why if you see kidney removes water from the blood. So basically, how does water get into the blood is basically at the large intestine level. So that's just an example of where lactobacillus works, but there are so many other bacteria which we have not figured out. So that's why I'm telling you, don't remain on our limited science of what people study today and what they recommend. I tell you, be holistic in terms of managing your gut bacteria, either with animal based or even soil. You can induce some of the good bacteria. Allow your kids to work on healthy soils and eat some pesticide free foods. Okay, now we'll come back to what is mother. Okay, so basically, the commercially available, the best probiotics. I started my career or my experiments in probiotic is with Bragg ACV. Even in Europe, they use this, and no other probiotics works like this. So a lot of people in the name of probiotics have been given. In India, what they're doing now is they're spoiling probiotics of apple cider vinegar. by so many products are there. None of them work because most of them doesn't have the mother, which is nothing but the fiber of the apple. And upon that, they are so poorly done. There is no probiotic in it. That's why my search for apple cider vinegar. I tried so many brands, none of it worked. Only Bragg worked, and it is even the most popular in Europe. They import it from US there also. And the mother is important because if you buy Bragg or anything and keep it in your home, how does the bacteria survive? You're not feeding sugar, you're not feeding anything else. Basically, it survives because the fiber which is there on the apple remains inside and it sticks there and lives on to it. So that is the essence of mother. Nothing but the mother is the food for that bacteria, and nothing but the fiber around that food. So Yakult also is another popular brand. My son drinks it because he doesn't take milk, curds. So the only thing what he drinks milk based is this fermented milk. Otherwise, no other milk he has allergy to it. And as you see, it has lactobacillus is one of the bacteria. It doesn't have the other one, the other two strains. So these two is the one I experimented. For my health, I took Bragg ACV. And for my son, this is the only probiotics he takes and the only milk-based product he takes. Otherwise, the rest is all allergic to him. And somewhere during our course of antibiotic exposure, doctor's treatment, after very few good doctors are there who suggest you probiotics after antibiotics. So one of those doctors had given a huge combination of probiotics, but there also we couldn't figure out whether it is really working. So that's why my quest into making my own probiotics started, as the limitations of ACV was that I was not getting good quality, and most of them whom I suggested gave up because they didn't find Bragg and they found all other brands which don't work. And Yakult is one of I mean, my son is fine with it, but I'm not getting, I'm not sure whether it's really having active probiotics. And I want to induce a lot of other strains because my son was given a long history of antibiotics by all the, I don't know whether you want to call them good doctors or bad doctors, but they really, it really ruined him. So we need to, I wanted to find more. Then I went into some of the pharmacy grade. In pharmacy grade, these are the some Greeks and philosophies which I couldn't understand. Now if you compare it, the now one is showing on the right clearly says it has lactobacillus, the other one has yeast saccharomyces. So there are only these three broad categories which are there in pharmacy that they can give you, but this is not enough. So my quest went beyond this to find out what other ways which human science have not found to induce the probiotics into our body. So that's coming off in another minute because we are ending this session. I have only 1 minute now. So please join back on the same meeting ID. We will resume the session. And any questions here quickly?
So in my experience, what I have learned is the highest number of strains is in fermented veggies, more than yogurts, more than kefirs, and more than kombucha. So if you want the highest strains of yeasts and bacteria, you can get it through fermented vegetables.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Like sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut.
Like sauerkraut and kimchi and whatever. You can ferment any vegetable for that matter. You not have to limit it to cabbage or anything. You can ferment everything which is high in fiber, like celery, which makes it even more palatable and nice. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take the questions back. We'll join back in a minute because this is ending in 1 minute. So we'll join back on the same invite. Thank you.